All right. All right. All right. All right. Peace, 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 peace. Peace, 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 peace. Don't let it give folks a second to come on in. We got the clip lined up. Gonna let that play for a second. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful Friday. Hope you're doing well. Holy day. Peace, peace, peace. Islam. Assalamu alaikum. Good brothers and sisters. I'm Ram Islamel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Come on through. Come on through. We have a excellent class and discussion today. Peace, peace, peace. Indeed, a blessed holy day. Indeed, indeed. Islam, Islam. Feeling great, feeling great. All right. And I dropped some links in there. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, True King. Peace, J. Marie King. Peace, S. Blaylock L. Peace, peace, peace. I dropped some links in there in terms of sources that I'm going to be going off of. But even still, I'm going to do my best to just drop them in the comment section as we go, so you can follow along, especially if you're watching after the live. You can check in there, click the link, check below, click the link, because it's important that we present the truth. We present facts and evidence. At least for myself, I'm speaking we, but I'll say for myself, it's important that when I present information, I provide the evidence and the sources so you can check and verify for yourself. You don't have to just believe what I'm saying. So now that we got that out the way, today's class, today's build, the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Supreme Grand Council featuring Taharka Bey. Oh, the good brother Taharka Bey. I hope at some point he chimes on in. It would be interesting, but if he isn't available live, that's okay, because we have his words anyway, and that'll work just as well. Also, actually, I should have started off with this. To the brother Taharka Bey, please don't take this as personal. It's not an attack on the good brother. It is a teaching moment, especially for those that may be new to this information. Those that are not even in the Moorish Science Temple of America and looking from the outside in, wondering why there's so much confusion with these Moors on the internet. And for those that have been in this movement and maybe feeling discouraged or disheartened because of the stagnation, you know what I mean? Because there hasn't been much progress. I hope by the end of this, it will provide some understanding, some clarity, and also a way forward or solution on how we can move forward. So, with that being the case, let's go ahead and I'm gonna just let this run for a second. What am I supposed to do here? Oh yes, boom, there we go. And then we're gonna let this play, and I'm gonna run it back, and then we're gonna do some teaching. All right. And if you have any questions, please jump in the chat. And once I'm done building, if you want to come on live, I will drop the link. I would love to build with Moorish Americans, specifically Moorish officials, Grand Sheiks, assistant Grand Sheiks, Grand Governors, anybody that claims to be an official Moorish American leader in the Moorish Science Temple of America, anything like that. Always welcome. But let me get to the clip. Let's see here.
Normally, you make a Grand Sheik In David Belial's body, you needed 7 sheiks. Belial chose me to be a grand sheik himself, and he allowed the people to say, okay, we're going to roll with you because you're the leader. They didn't want me to be a grand sheik. The same people that I showed you in the pictures, they didn't want me to be a grand sheik. They had a vote in the chamber. I would find out later. And they said no. But Belial, the grandson of Emeliel, said, I am going to make him a grand sheik. That's how I became a grand sheik. I didn't come the traditional way. I've never had any conflict with Belial. I never disagreed with Belial. Belial gave me the free reign to teach and teach hard. He gave me the free reign, and I got the recordings. It was people crying because I was saying that a person with his pants hanging down below his butt is not a Moorish American Muslim. They was complaining to Belial that I'm on YouTube saying, I'm putting up memes saying this is not a Muslim. And Belial like, what is wrong? What's wrong? Brother, I am hip hop. The Supreme Grand Council went away with Emeliel. We must reestablish it as we are. The Supreme Grand Council went away with Emeliel. These people have never been moving under the structure of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The only thing that survived is the sheikhood. The sheikhood is passed down from those who was faithful to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Emeliel, Delia Belial, etc. That's the only thing that survived. The structure crumbled. But that's how it was supposed to be. Because we come back later and we can see what it looks like. The people that were there wouldn't be able to see what it looked like. We get to see the full picture today. And it takes strong men and women to look at it and look at the benefits of it and put it together so it can liberate our people spiritually, economically, emotionally, in every other way possible. Back then, the prophets say they did not know. He said, you don't know what I'm doing here today. And if they did not know, how could they capitalize off it? Pun intended. If they did not know. He said it's going to be the ones that come now. He says it's going to be the ones that come later. We are the ones he's talking about. But we're scared to step out and build it because it take a little bit more work. It take a little bit more muscle. It take less this. You can't play along to get along. Jesus never played along to get along. Muhammad never played along to get along. Buddha never played along to get along. And they remember thousands of years later. They remember the thousands of years later. He said, not even a sheik could, brother, because the obligation of sheik is to have a Supreme Grand Council. That's not true. That's not true. You don't know what you're talking about, I am hip hop. There was no Supreme Grand Council in building the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Supreme Grand Council was the final step of the building of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So you can build the Moorish Science Temple of America without a Supreme Grand Council, but ultimately you have to have a Supreme Grand Council. You don't know what you're talking about, brother. You've never been in the temple. You've never been under a real leader. You've never been under an elder. You don't know what you're talking about. Prophet Noble Drew Ali built the Moorish Science Temple of America all the way to the last day of 1928 without a Supreme Grand Council. The Supreme Grand Council was the last thing that he implemented. That tells us that you can build a Moorish Science Temple of America without the Supreme Grand Council, but that's the ultimate final part. You don't know what you're talking about. You can build this Moorish Science Temple of America without a Supreme Grand Council, but the last part of it is the Supreme Grand Council. You don't know what you're talking about.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. We're gonna come back to that, but before we do, I just wanna come back. We gonna put that to the side for a second. We're gonna put that to the side for a second. Oh man, God is good. You know what I mean? God is good. You hear me? Let's see. where we at? All righty. Let me go ahead and just pull this up here. Prep this here. All righty. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, we're going to build on that, as Blaylock. We're going to build on that. But I don't want to just, my opinion, his opinion. No, God is good. So let me take you back. Here's a discussion that I had with the brother Taharka Bey, 2021. All right. So let's go ahead and hear what was said back then.
To Prophet Noble Drew Ali, not one.
I just want to say one thing, that not to cut you, but as we continue, anybody watching this, let's remove our feelings. Let's remove what you feel or what you believe, and let's focus on the facts. Let's focus on the evidence. What is the proof? You know what I mean? Because far too often, we speak about Moorish science, yet we don't operate in a scientific manner. So we got to make sure that we are being scientific and provide the evidence. If you disagree, if you say this is incorrect, if this is a lie, well, please point out where the lie is. Point out, provide the evidence of the truth so I can be corrected. Because I also, if I didn't make it clear, I am not above correction or critique. I am striving to be the best Muslim, the best Moorish American I can be. But I know that I make mistakes, and I'm not above being corrected. So if I'm in there, let me know so I can correct myself. All right.
Indeed. Where you at, Chicago Defender? Hold up 1 second. I might got too many windows open. Hold on 1 second, family. Let me get this out of here real quick. Okay, now let me try. Here we go.
Appreciate that, Shan Rock. Real quick, what I was saying is that you can hear me back then, my position 2021, I think this was around May. My position was, if you disagree, let's present the evidence. Let's take the emotion out of it. You know what I mean? Let's not, Taharka, you don't know what you're talking about, this, that, and a personal attack. Hey, let's put that to the side. Let's deal with the facts and the evidence. So I'm just fast forwarding. Y'all can hear me now, right? I'm fast forwarding in the discussion we had back in 2021, just to show you that he is aware of this information and this evidence regarding the Supreme Grand Council. Then we'll go back and revisit what he said. All right.
So this is the Chicago Defender article, circa around about 1928. And it reads, it is reported that the prophet is being reported to the Chicago Defender. The Supreme is this, that it is reported that the prophet, the supreme executive authority, will appoint a Supreme Grand Council of which he will be the Supreme Grand Chairman. Now, here we go. The Supreme Grand Council will have power and duty to control and supervise all affairs, and you got to remember this, family, all affairs and properties of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's management. And it will be the sole judge of what constitutes the conduct injurious to the order of peace in the interest or welfare of the organization, or at variance with the Constitution and bylaws. Also, the rules and regulation made by the prophet. Stop there for 1 second. Let's take a pit stop here for a second. The Supreme.
All right. So he heard you. You heard Taharka read. He's very clear. And if you didn't know that piece, to make changes, it comes from the Chicago Defender article, as well as what's known as Moorish literature within the Moorish Science Temple of America. Many people know this, including Taharka, in which Noble Drew Ali explains for the betterment of the movement to make some changes and instituting this Supreme Grand Council, and then proceeds to lay out the duties and the obligations and responsibilities of the Supreme Grand Council. But now let's go back to the clip that just happened a couple of days ago from the good brother Taharka, you know, because it seems like his tone changed a little bit. We're gonna rewind it just a little bit. Here we go. Yes, you know, it's interesting indeed. But I want to lay this out so people can understand, you know, with the facts and the evidence. Let's see here. Bam, bam.
Build it, and you got to build it on truth. Anything that's on the foundation of a lie, it can take a day, it can take 100 years, but that lie is going to pull the rug from underneath of you. It's going to pull it from underneath of you. Now, if that was a lie and that other stuff is a lie, then what we doing at the noble temples is reestablish you. It's going to come back and haunt you. Again, I was made a grand sheik in such a way that surprises me. Normally, you make a grand sheik. In David Bailey's body, you needed 7 sheiks.
Man, did it come back on? Man, it's just in a groove, man. I don't think it. I'm gonna try to wait for a second. See, okay, cool. All right. I was like, man, just when it got to the, you feel me? I didn't forgot what I was just about to make a point. Oh, that's what it was. Taharka was just about to speak on how he was made a Grand Sheik. That's what it was. And I wanted to play that part in specific because it's going to relay to a point. Appreciate y'all holding, sticking with me. Excuse me for the Wi-Fi errors. I'm like, man, right. Appreciate it. Here we go. Let's see if we get back to it.
We're going to roll with you because you're the leader. They didn't want me to be a Grand Sheik. The same people that I showed you in the, but if you're building on a foundation of a lie, no matter how long ago that lie was, normally you make a Grand Sheik. In David Baliel's body, you needed 7 sheiks. Baliel chose me to be a Grand Sheik himself, and he allowed the people to say, okay, we're going to roll with you because you're the leader. They didn't want me to be a Grand Sheik. The same people that I showed you in the pictures, they didn't want me to be a Grand Sheik. They had a vote in the chamber. I would find out later. And they said no.
That was it right there. It happens. I like that. I wanted to play that part right there because he spoke about how there was some sort of vote that was supposed to happen. And he went through some whole other process of becoming a Grand Sheik. Grand Sheik is a title of an official leader within the Moorish Science Temple of America within this organization. The focus isn't so much about how he became a Grand Sheik, but I wanted to highlight him saying there was supposed to be a vote, and there was a vote. Let me just run it back one time, just a little bit, just so you can hear it, because it's all gonna connect in a little bit.
Because you're the leader. They didn't want me to be a Grand Sheik. The same people that I showed you in the pictures, they didn't want me to be a Grand Sheik. They had a vote in the chamber. I would find out later. And they said no. But Baliel, the grandson of Emeliel, said, I am going to make him a Grand Sheik. That's how I became a Grand Sheik. I didn't come the traditional way. I've never had any conflict with Baliel. I never disagreed with Baliel. Baliel gave me the free reign to teach and teach hard. He gave me the free reign, and I got the recordings. It was people crying because I was saying that a person with his pants hanging down below his butt is not a Moorish American Muslim. They was complaining to Baliel that I'm on YouTube saying, I'm putting up memes saying this is not a Muslim. And Baliel like, what is wrong? What's wrong? Brother, I am hip hop. The Supreme Grand Council went away with Emeliel. We must reestablish it as we are. The Supreme Grand Council went away with Emeliel. These people have never been moving under the structure of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The only thing that survived is the sheikhood. The sheikhood is passed down from those who was faithful to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Emeliel, Deliameliel, Baliel, etc. That's the only thing that survived.
No.
The structure crumbled.
No.
But that's how it was supposed to be.
No.
Because we come back later and we can see what it looks like. The people that were there wouldn't be able to see what it looked like. We get to see the full picture today. And it takes strong men and women to look at it and look at the benefits of it and put it together so it can liberate our people spiritually, economically, emotionally, in every other way possible. Back then, the prophets say they did not know. He said, you don't know what I'm doing here today. And if they did not know, how could they capitalize off it? Pun intended. If they did not know. He said it's going to be the ones that come now. He says it's going to be the ones that come later. We are the ones he's talking about. But we're scared to step out and build it because it take a little bit more work. It take a little.
Nobody's scared, but we're going to get to it real quick.
A little bit more muscle. It take less this. You can't play along to get along. Jesus never played along to get along. Muhammad never played along to get along. Buddha never played along to get along. And they remember thousands of years later. They remember 1,000 years later. He said, not even a sheik could, brother, because the obligation of sheik is to have a Supreme Grand Council. That's not true. That's not true. You don't know what you're talking about, I Am Hip Hop. There was no Supreme Grand Council in building the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Supreme Grand Council was the final step of the building of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So you can.
One statement, he said there was no Supreme Grand Council in the building of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The very next breath, he says it was the final piece in the building of the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Can build a Moorish Science Temple of America without a Supreme Grand Council, but ultimately you have to have a Supreme Grand Council. You don't know what you're talking about, brother. You've never been in the temple. You've never been under a real leader. You've never been under an elder. You don't know what you're talking about.
So he agrees that you have to have a Supreme Grand Council. He knows about the Supreme Grand Council because we heard him read about it. I came up with this analogy right before I was thinking about it when I went live. Sometimes if you watch football, you watch sports, sometimes there'll be a play going on. Set, go. And there'll be a penalty on the play, but the play will still be in motion. You know what I mean? Maybe an offsides penalty. They still play the play out. The quarterback may throw the ball deep. Maybe there's a dead ball foul and it stops. People are still playing after the play. Just because people are going after, even though the flag is going down, doesn't make their actions legitimate. If they score and it's a holding penalty on the offense, that touchdown doesn't count. It's invalid. There's a violation. Flag on the play. You cannot proceed forward. Does that make sense? If it's a penalty going on, they call a play, it's a long touchdown, but it's a holding call. That team cannot celebrate saying we scored, we scored, we scored. Look at how good we did. We advanced the ball this far because there's a penalty. It's a violation. You weren't following the rules of the game. I hope you're following me. Likewise, with the Moorish Science Temple of America as an organization, just because people are doing activities after the violation, after the flag on the play being not a Supreme Grand Council being active and functioning. Just because you're doing things after that penalty doesn't make them valid, doesn't make it legitimate. We cannot move forward because there's a flag on the play, there's a penalty, there's a violation. We are not following the rules of the organization. Not my opinion, not my belief, not how I feel about it. This is the facts. This is the absolute facts of the matter. Don't just take my word for it. Let me pull up somebody else. I mean, it's quite possible. It's quite possible. Let me pull up this other video here. Let's see. Okay. Okay. All right.
To talk about the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman is to talk about the Supreme Grand Council. This essential authority they attempted to sweep that entity under the rug years ago. And it started in 1934, I think, where they says, well, if we sweep the supreme body, the Supreme Grand Council under the rug, then there's no central authority. With no central authority, then we have a free run of what we want to do. And that's unfortunately what you see here today in Moorish America. Not respecting the central authority, noted as the Prophet put the supreme body / Supreme Grand Council in effect, headed by the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America.
I'm gonna rewind that. I'm gonna run it back one more time. Then we're gonna, central in on some things that were said in this video. And just so you know, this is E. Braswell Bey, considered a Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America. All right, not what Rami said, not what I believe. Let's listen.
Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman. The Supreme Grand Council is the central authority of our organization. To talk about the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman is to talk about the Supreme Grand Council. This essential authority they attempted to sweep that entity under the rug years ago. And it started in 1934, I think, where they says, well, if we sweep the supreme body, the Supreme Grand Council under the rug, then there's no central authority. With no central authority, then we have a free run of what we want to do. And that's unfortunately what you see here today in Moorish America. Not respecting the central authority, noted as the Prophet put the supreme body / Supreme Grand Council in effect, headed by the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Sorry, man. I gotta, I'm trying to produce and talk at the same time. Appreciate y'all letting me know. Muted. As you heard the elder say, the Supreme Grand Council is the central authority for the Moorish Science Temple of America. Without the central authority for the Moorish Science Temple of America, without the Supreme Grand Council, what you have is a bunch of people doing whatever they want to do. There's nobody respecting the laws. There's no organization, nobody following the structure, because there's no central authority. And matter of fact, and just so we're clear, because I looked it up just in case folks wasn't sure, I said, let's go ahead and look it up. What is a central authority? Can we see that there? You know what I mean? Nothing too difficult. What is an example of a central authority? Examples of organizations that utilize central authority include governments, armies, large corporations, such as NGOs. In a central organization, the decision-making powers are retained at the company's head office, and all other offices and departments receive commands from the main office. Structure, organization. Just like In the United States of America, there's government structure, there's a central authority and branches below that, and state departments and city, and it's all structured. Likewise with the Moorish Science Temple of America. As an organization, there was a structure. The central authority for this organization that helped provide the structure is the Supreme Grand Council. Currently, and for a long time, there has not been a legitimate, functioning, valid Supreme Grand Council. And that is why we see so much dysfunction, disunity, why it's so much confusion on who is legitimate, who is correct, what should Moors be doing, etc., etc., etc. But I didn't want to just stop there. I wanted to, oh, that's what I want. Okay, boom, got my notes right here. Example, take it off of me for a moment. We're going to use our example of Maurice Black, all right? This is an example of Maurice Black. We're going to call him Mo for short, all right? Mo is your average Black man in America. Born and raised in North America in the United States, classified as Black African American, all right? My man Mo, he finds out about Noble Drew Ali and Moors and this Moor Science Temple of America. My man Mo, he's Black, but he's interested. It seems legitimate. He wants to learn more. He says, I want to sign up. I want to learn more about this because it seems like it could be correct, but I don't know. What do I do? How do I join? Question. If you were trying to advise my friend Mo, the Black man that is learning about all of this, he's a U.S. citizen, born and raised in the USA, okay, African American. He's learning about this. He wants to join a temple. Which Moor Science Temple of America can we send Mo to this legitimate? Real simple question. Real simple question. Which I want to send out. My man Mo is like a best friend. You know what I mean? I really care, near and dear to me. So I don't want to steer him in the wrong direction, people, brothers and sisters, especially the Moors out there. You know what I mean? Taharkas out there. You know? Which Moor Science Temple of America can we advise Mo to go to for more this legitimate? He just wants to learn. Where do we send him, brothers and sisters? As Blaylock says, Mo gets scammed at any temple in America. Mo hits me. He says, hey, Rami, I'm looking. I don't know which one to join. Which one do I join? I'm looking online and I see a bunch of different websites. Which Moor Science Temple website is legitimate? Brothers and sisters, people that's been in the temple, which one can we point Mo to? Which one can we advise him to go to? Which website should we refer him to for more information? Now, this is Mo, the average Black man from America. He don't know nothing about Noble Drew Ali and Moors and Islam. He was born in a Christian family, in the church. Okay. Whole life. He's learning about this. He's African American. He wants to learn more. What website do we send him? I got it. Maybe not a website. Which YouTube channel do we send our good brother Mo to? Our brother Maurice, he just wants to learn. Maybe he can't get to the temple. Maybe it's the temple is in Chicago and he's in, I don't know, he's in Inglewood, all right? He's in Inglewood. What YouTube channel can he tap into that's legitimate, that he can trust the information from those people, that he can learn more about this Moor Science Temple of America and Noble Drew Ali and how to become a member of the organization? Any suggestions? Jonathan Scott Bey, I got your question. Any suggestions, though? Anybody watching? Taharka Bey, if you're out there, please. You know what I mean? Any of the good brothers that know me well, please. I'm open to any suggestions. I don't see many. Now, mind you, Taj Tariq Bey, House of Reawakening Minds. No, Amat. Let me highlight that. Let me highlight that. Maybe you you misunderstood me. I appreciate the response, but I'm saying our good brother Mo, he wants to join the Moorish Science Temple of America, not the House of Reawakening Minds, not the Great Seal of Moorish America Empires, not R.V. Bey Publication. He wants to join the organization that Noble Drew Ali established, which is the Moorish Science Temple of America. So who should we direct him for legitimate information about that? Amatu Allah Sadakinya, I think that's how you pronounce it. I appreciate that, Goddess of Truth. Tell him if they say Taj or anything about being their own country, run away far and fast. I appreciate that response. Jonathan Scott Bey, a lawfully chartered one. Great response. Question, Jonathan Scott Bey. Which Moorish Science Temple of America is lawfully chartered? Which Moorish Science Temple of America is following the laws that Noble Drew Ali laid down for the organization? Now, keep in mind, part of the laws for the organization is to have a Supreme Grand Council. And this is where we run into the problem, brothers and sisters. You cannot point Mo to a legitimate Moorish Science Temple of America right now. You cannot point to one that's following the laws that Noble Drew Ali laid down. Why can't you, Brother Rami? Why? What about this one? None of them are following the laws as it pertains to the Supreme Grand Council. And as such, everyone is out of order. It's the central authority. Without the central authority, none of this, you can't point to anything as legitimate. There's no one that we can say, this is the structure, this is who we listen to. This is our national representative. Because everybody will say, well, my Moorish Science Temple Inc. is legitimate, and my Moorish Science Temple 1928 is legitimate. And Taharka is creating a whole new noble temple, and he's saying that's legitimate. Now, which one is most supposed to believe? Beyond Mo, if we're talking about outside, brothers and sisters that's European, how are they supposed to look at our organization as legitimate? They can't, and they don't. That's why it looks the way, that's not even why it looks, that's why it is the way it is. There is no organization. There is no unity. Because we are not following our own laws for our organization, not for some own nation that's sovereign and doesn't have to have jurisdiction. And that is nonsense. And that's part of the problem. Who can say and see, Taharka's criticizing, you don't know what you're talking about because you're not a part of a legitimate. All right, well, point to me a legitimate temple to join. Show me a legitimate temple that's been following the laws, and I'll join. Don't worry, I'll wait. Shout out Cat Williams. Oh my goodness. My goodness. But now let me get to something more that I can bring the point home as clear as possible. Because Taharka brought up voting. right? That there was this meeting in the chambers and they voted for him not to be a grand sheik. The questions I was asking you about Mo, that was just for the organization. Within the organization, how do I get more information about the organization? What happens when Mo starts asking questions that's outside of the organization? For example, if I become a Moorish American or if I proclaim my nationality, how can I vote? How can I cast my vote as a citizen of this country, as a Moorish American? Does anyone have the answer for that? No, I know you don't. But it's a legitimate and real question. And then there'll be some that may say, oh, well, what are you talking about? We not supposed to be voting. We not even support. That's part of the nonsense. You know, and let me show you. Let me not just tell you. Let me actually show you. Here we go. Not from my words. No, no, no. Not from my words. Here we go. Because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm honestly just following the instructions of Noble Drew Ali. You know? Can we see that there? All right. This is from, again, Moorish literature. This section is called A Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations. Okay? And this is Noble Drew Ali. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens, according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. A little bit further. There's but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government, United States government, and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government. I'm a pause right there. I'm a pause right there. On a very simplistic level, in a real way, which Moorish Science Temple of America right now is having voter drives to make sure they sign up all their members and their members understand how to vote? On a very basic level. This isn't what I said. This is what Noble Drew Ali said. This is what he established for this organization. To uplift fallen humanity and to make us better citizens, not citizens of some fantasy empire that people talk about online. No, the United States of America, the actual government in which we live. This is the real function of the Moorish Science Temple of America, not to try to get out of getting a driver's license, not to try to claim some land that somebody has already owned or some house that someone has and say it's yours. None of that nonsense. Real legitimate actions like registering and casting your ballot to vote. Which temple, which Moorish Science branch temple, head temple, which one is operating like that right now? None of them. None of them. I'm going to highlight and then I'm about to close out because I got to roll. This is, man, I've been meaning to, I should have, dang, y'all ain't, I've been meaning to drop the links in there. This is what I'm finna read from right now. Before I read to that, I appreciate, the noble temples are organizing to that effect right now. If they're not operating under the Supreme Grand Council's authority, everybody is illegitimate. Everyone is doing whatever they want to do. There has to be structure. All of the branch temples are supposed to report in monthly to the Supreme Grand Council about new members, taxes, businesses, progress, etc. This is how it actually works, how it actually functions. There's nobody operating and following the laws, so it's illegitimate, as noble or as good intentioned as it may be. We have to follow. Never mind us talking about law and treaties and rights on a national and global level. If we can't follow our own laws for our organization, we sound foolish. With all due respect to everybody. And it was never intended to establish as its own nation. It's an organization to uplift humanity and to make us better citizens, not to overthrow any nation or to feel we're superior to the laws of any nation. That's not what the Moorish Science Temple of America was or is about. But let me highlight real quick this last piece that I want to read. And this is called the Muketabin Files. You see here, the Grand Governors Edition. Can I zoom in a little bit? Yeah. Excuse me. The Moorish movement in America, its inception, rise, and struggle in the American social system. A brief examination of the history, organization structure, and national leadership of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Brother R. Edwards L., ASDM, I believe that means Assistant Divine Minister, is the author. Brother J. Barnes Bey is a co-author. Brother D. Eddington L., also, I believe, Assistant Divine Minister, is a field researcher. W.R. Edwards L. is a field researcher. And Brother C. Hood Bey, Assistant Divine Minister, is a research consultant. All right? So just to give you some background on the authors real quick, and then I wanted to this is the forward. I would humbly suggest anybody that's watching this to read this for yourself. I'm not going to go through all of that right now. I'm going to skip down to the part that I want us to focus on. And this is a final thought, basically summarizing everything. So I'm going to read this real quick. Final thought. I have personally spoken with a number of these Moorish American leaders, temple officials, and their members concerning Moorish American unity. Everyone I have spoken with is calling for unity among Moors. The question is, what are we willing to do? Give up or change? How far are they willing to go? This is the question. We didn't get where we are today by change or mishap. There were those who made conscious decisions leading to this outcome or condition that we find the movement in today. You have read my findings and that of other Moorish American scholars, ministers, and teachers. We all have to admit that the movement has been caught in a whirlwind of confusion since the Prophet's passing. We have now had many leaders in various grand bodies. Some have changed the name of the organization and its purpose, all supposedly in the name of fulfilling the Prophet's work. The Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali is reported as saying, every word I speak is spirit, and you Moors better heed. The tone of the message informs us that the listener didn't have a clear understanding of the Prophet's instructions. As a result, many today have not been introduced to the truth and consistent purpose of his message. If we are to believe that Noble Drew Ali is a prophet of Allah and that Allah is the author, creator, and governor of the worlds, why can't we believe that he did and said just what Allah commanded him to do and say? What may seem to us as errors let's see. What may seem to us as errors in history are no more than reminders of the need to return to the path of Allah. Even today's call for unity as a landmark in the journey of the race. For the decisions and actions of the past have led us to these doors. But once again, we are being called to witness for the truth. And because man has power to make or mar his future, we must be ever mindful of the decisions we make. This includes any organized efforts to bring about the uniting of the temples under one great grand body. In fact, any plan to unite the Moorish movement founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali must contain or at least acknowledge certain immovable landmarks or points of authority. Authority, remember? Please consider that a call to unity in the Moorish movement must be a call to return to the true foundation of the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He is the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple. Let me scroll down here. And so, in other words, before any compromising is made regarding past practices, customs, etc., each body of Moors must acknowledge certain landmarks or point of authority originally established by Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And it has 16 basic facts that everybody needs to come to an agreement on before we can move before we can move forward. If we can't come to a certain level of universal understanding facts about this movement, the foundation of it, then it's hard to proceed because everybody's working off their own understanding and there isn't a universal understanding and it's just all recognized and established. This is a very sensible way to approach it. And I could go through all of these, but it's honestly not the focus for the discussion today. It's 16 of them that goes through the history of it. But I wanted to highlight this part right here. It should be the desire of any unity effort to reunite the Moorish Americans under the true foundation as established by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and that this can be best accomplished by reestablishing a supreme council of the Moorish Divine and National Movement in North America, currently operating under the name Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc. It can best to reunite the Moorish Americans under the true foundation of Noble Drew Ali. It can be best accomplished by reestablishing a supreme council. Further down it says, whoever has the legal right today to use that name, like Moorish Science Temple of America, should be the one or body of Moors spearheading this call for unity. A reestablishment of the Supreme Council would allow for each of the current leaders of grand bodies to be a part, each have a single vote of authority. Once established, this Supreme Council would answer all questions concerning religious and national concerns of the organization and its members. The Supreme Grand Council would define what is and isn't or is not a part of the Prophet's teachings. The Supreme Grand Council would interpret current laws and policy, enforcing those that are in accordance with or of the Prophet and discarding those of no use. The Supreme Grand Council would establish customs and practice of said organization and membership, establish rules, ritual, and practices for the adept chamber and divine ministry, establish a standard interpretation of certain laws and practices through the movement, as well as a standard practical interpretation of Moorish holy and divine doctrines. The Supreme Grand Council would establish guidelines and standards for those being raised to the level of a missionary, adept, sheikh, or divine minister, the same applying to the entitlement of governor, Grand Governor, etc. of the higher order. The Supreme Grand Council would establish a Moorish American perspective of the Holy Quran of Mecca for the teaching and instructing of the Moorish Americans. Is that all I wanted to read on that? Yeah. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up, man. All right. Any questions? In 2024, you would have 5 to 10 different Supreme Grand Councils due to there being 5 to 10 different administrations. I appreciate that statement. Here's the thing. It's very clear that there should only be one Supreme Grand Council. So we would have to be in accordance, and we can all come together, which is actually what I have already spoke or attempted to communicate to every single Moorish Science Temple of America that I could find in North America. For every single address I could find, I sent a letter essentially saying we all need to come together as a convention, emergency convention, whatever we need to call it. And we have to reestablish the Supreme Grand Council. There can be no legitimate progress and forward movement with the Moorish Science Temple of America until this is reestablished. It's just an impossibility. We cannot move forward. Why? Because there's a bunch of different people who will claim they are the authority. And then people like Mo, like I told you, won't know how can I join? Which one is legitimate? The people that may need this information the most, that want to join, they're not even interested because it seems bogus. It seems like a big con. And there's parts of it that is, unfortunately, because we're not reestablishing the Supreme Grand Council. And anybody that's against it, anybody that tries to dismiss it and say that this is not necessary, understand they're part of the problem. And they're saying that because they want the dysfunction to continue, because they don't want to follow the laws. They don't want to follow the rules. That's the reality of where we are. You see, this is an example. The Supreme Grand Council is not absolutely necessary for the temple to function. Incorrect. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Noble Drew Ali instituted this, as Taharka read, to make changes for this organization. Because there was issues, people weren't understanding how this thing is supposed to operate. So the founder of this organization, the person, people that are in this organization, hopefully consider a prophet, he felt it necessary. So then how can you come after and say it's not necessary? You see the problem with that? But the bigger issue is, I can point that out and I can say that, and people can say, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Who can clarify what is correct? Who can say, yes, that is correct? Yes, this is the official stance of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You know who can say it? The Supreme Grand Council. It's the problem, you see? Oh, I'll get back to your question, Jonathan. The question was, what makes a Supreme Grand Council? 7 people that are appointed and confirmed by the grand body. And the grand body is representatives of all of the branch temples from around the country, the leaders, the executive rulers of all of the branch temples. That makes up the grand body. So there's supposed to be a head, a chairman, a head person. They select 7 people. Then they go through an appointment and confirmation process in which the grand body confirms and says, yes, we want those 7 people to represent and be on the Supreme Grand Council. That is what creates the Supreme Grand Council. Kind of works like government. You see, there's organization, structure, checks and balances. Everyone has a vote, has a voice. Because if the grand body, which is representative of the people, if the grand body is saying, we don't feel that this person is a good representation or is a right fit for that position, they would need to find someone else for that position. But you can't just leave the Supreme Grand Council empty and say, hey, we're going to run the organization. It doesn't work like that. Was there any other questions, Jonathan Scott Bey? Correct. See, and this is also, to your point, God is the truth. It is required, the Supreme Grand Council is required to start taking back the power that will put the fake governments and consulates down and out of business and declare them all illegitimate and criminals. This is a fact. Because there's no authority voice coming from the Moorish Science Temple of America that can say, as a matter of law and legal, this as an organization, this is us. All of these individuals, all of these organizations are illegitimate and they are not representative of our organization. Then it'll be a very clear and very clear distinction between what is legitimate, what is the proper way to be a Moorish American, and all of these rest of these other groups. And then we can proceed and do what we're supposed to do, just like any other American citizen, like Italian Americans, German Americans, Brazilian Americans, Mexican Americans, Moorish Americans, American citizens. It's really that simple. I hear you, but that is where the faith comes in, God's the truth. It is very fractured. But you got to keep the faith, keep doing the work, and in the end, the truth will be seen. You know what I mean? The truth will be known. Things is gonna get right. Was there any other questions, Jonathan Scott Bey, or anyone else? You say North. What about South and Central America? I don't know what you mean by that. Could you just explain a little bit more? I'm not sure what you mean. Amatu. And anybody else? Any questions before I get up out of here? But yeah, I mean, the scamming is a major problem. But honestly, it would end overnight, once we clarify and get things cleared up, because they will have no way to hide after then. You know what I mean? And a lot of those kind of individuals are very cowardly, and I think the shame and the embarrassment would just put them in the hiding and make them disappear. You know what I mean? Most of them. It's a few that may try to be stubborn and hold out, and we would see the consequences of that. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of parallels. That, and on that note, this is my belief right here. This is just my opinion. But much like there's so much corruption in the Moorish Science Temple of America, it makes you want to just be like, forget it. I give up, man. It's too much. I'm not dealing with it. And that's how they win. You know what I mean? That's the trick. It's so it's so much filth that it's just like, man, forget it. But it's like, nah, we standing on the principle. We standing on these facts. We standing on the foundation. Yeah, I know it seems real dark right now. Oh, but the light is there and it's finna shine bright. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So just got to keep the faith. I don't see any other questions from Jonathan Scott Bay or anybody else for that matter. Anybody else? Any other Moors? I didn't see Taharka come through. I can't say I'm surprised by that. You know what I mean? And I didn't see many of the people that claim to be officials in this movement want to stop on by. But that's all right. No, appreciate the question. Let me highlight that real quick before I get up out of here. Can any administration form a Supreme Grand Council? No. I mean, if you're talking about just a general question, like the concept of a Supreme Grand Council, absolutely, because it's just a central authority. But if you mean as it relates to the Moorish Science Temple of America, no. It's all, it's all supposed to, run essentially like a temple, like any other kind of organization. The analogy or a reference that I kind of give people to explain is like a board of directors, you know what I mean, for a corporation or a company. There's always some central authority at any organization or company that at some point at the top has to make decisions, and then that is cascaded down throughout the organization. So no, not any administration or any temple can form the Supreme Grand Council. Oh, okay. Boom. Have you ever interviewed someone that claims official? No, it's a funny thing, man. I've had people reach out to me behind the scene and say, hey, such and such wants to talk to you. You can just call them, give me your number and I'll get you in contact. Or I've had, maybe someone respond in an email, that claims to be an official. But I don't want to say never, but to my knowledge, there's nobody that's willing to come and speak like this right here and have a conversation. Because what I don't want to do is try to have some secret dialogue behind the scenes. No. This is a public conversation. This involves the entire organization. There doesn't need to be any secrets about it. We just need to I don't need to call somebody or have somebody call me behind the scenes. We can speak freely. I sent actual postage mail letters to all the temples that I could find in the nation regarding this issue, countless videos regarding this issue. The truth, John Scott Bay, is most of the individuals that claim to be official don't want to address this issue because they will then be held accountable. That's the reality. That most people don't want to tell on themselves and say, you know what, I wasn't handling my responsibilities as an official. Let's have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? It's I wish there was a more entertaining or a better answer, but that's the reality. At least, from my perspective. Because I'm here. Been making videos regarding the Supreme Grand Council for, quite some time now, as soon as I learned about it, and we see where things are, Jonathan? You know? When I comes to one head, does it not include all of the continent in the vote of their citizens? Well, no. I mean, citizens in Argentina or citizens in Brazil don't have a vote in the United States of America government. I mean, unless they are United States citizens or American citizens, then yes. But no, just because there are people in South and Central America, that doesn't entitle them to a vote in the United States of America, the government, and the government operating in North America. You know what I mean? If I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, but this kind of seems like what you're asking. Last one here. How does the Supreme Grand Council get established or formed? Yeah. People are chosen and then confirmed by the a body of officials, and then they are then seated. And that's the issue. I started asking Moorish grand sheiks, Moorish leaders, hey, is there any documentation of legitimate Supreme Grand Council members? Who are they? Where's the record of them being appointed and confirmed? This is like some basic stuff that should be available. And the comparison that I used was the Supreme Court justices. If you want to look up the history of Supreme Court justices and them being investigated or having the hearings and questioned to see if they are valid and confirmed to be a Supreme Court justice, you can easily find all of that information, easily available. Just got to, government website, boom. There's no documentation, no, information about who are the current Supreme Grand Council members or the past ones. And we're talking decades and decades. And that's just, that's, that's not right. Yeah, I think I've answered all the questions. Who would nominate those individuals would be the Supreme Grand Sheik or the chairman, the head of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Whoever is the official head of the organization, they would nominate 7 people that they feel are qualified. And then those 7 people would have to be confirmed by all the head officials from all the branch temples. And this would all be documented and on record, so that it's not, just some secret meeting. And we say, yeah, we chose them people, and yeah, everybody agrees. So these are the people running the organization. Yeah, real. Once I learned that, I was like, that makes perfect sense. It makes very legitimate sense. You know what I mean? You need to have some people that are qualified, so you can't just have the leader of the organization nominate anybody. And then just because he nominates or she nominates them, that doesn't mean they get the automatic seat. There got to be some sort of check and balance. And yeah, so now if every branch temple has to confirm whether or not they, the vote, it's like, yeah, makes perfect legitimate sense on how an organization should be ran. And it also makes sense why there's so much dysfunction in this organization, because that process isn't happening and hasn't been happening. And that's why people have, other Moors, other Moorish Americans, other people that claim to be grand sheiks, etc., like Taharka, will claim that I don't know what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is nonsense. Try to dismiss and dissuade people from even hearing what I have to say or listening to this, because, but it is what it is. God knows best. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that is it for me. This actually went a little bit longer than I had planned, but I hope and I pray that it was informative for people, that you understand that, you know, and especially if you're watching this and you're new to this movement, or you kind of been in this movement and it's like, man, I know this is the direction I want to move, but how it's operating right now just seems like another scam, just seems like a bunch of con people. I understand. And there's a reason for that. And we got to correct the issues and be honest with ourselves and take accountability. You know what I mean? And clean up the temple. It's, as an organization, we have to do some work to get ourselves back on the right track. And for people that are not Moors or not Moorish Americans, you know, goddess of truth, and other people that may be watching this and they see all the nonsense going on, please understand that at the core, the Moorish Science Temple of America is honestly like a very patriotic movement, you know, and it's honestly truly to help so-called Black people, so-called African Americans be better citizens of this country, you know, and to understand how government works by operating in our organization. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's irritating because it's so much nonsense that you can see online. And it's like, oh man, these Moors are just like some sovereign citizen, you know, make believe. They want to just make up stuff kind of group. And it's like, it's like, it's definitely not that. But I can't be mad at, you know, True Science, and I'm missing the other people, Artie, and you know, it's like it's a collection of people that have been criticizing Moors and such, and you can't be mad because we've allowed it to become this dysfunctional. So we got some work to do. We got to humble ourselves. We got to move with love, and we got to do what's right. You know what I mean? That's all I got for now. Thank you for watching. Yeah. If you're interested, you know, if you're watching this, if you have more questions, please drop them in the comment section. I'll be there to answer them. Just, you know, I ask you be respectful. Much love to you and yours. Love is the key. Love is the way. Study Noble Drew Ali and what he taught, not what Taj and all of these other kind of folks taught. You know what I mean? That's the best way to understand this Moorish movement and Moors. And let's all have a blessed and great day. All right. Peace.